A shock to the Oregon State football program.
It has been mutually agreed Gary Anderson will step down from his position as the head football coach of Oregon State.
Gary Anderson resigns after a 1-5 start. Now the Beavers move forward with the new leader, and the first test is Colorado.
Turns, hands out, Philip Lindsay. He's got the hole. He's got the end zone.
OSU Athletics Director Scott Barnes joins us to take a look at the football program moving forward. Beavers Inside the Huddle starts now.
Everybody be a playmaker today. Let's go play, guys. Here we go.
Throws toward the back of the end zone. Touchdown, Beavers!
And welcome in to another Beavers Inside the Huddle. Man, a rocky start to the week as, along with Steve Priest, I am Dusty Hara. Steve, what did you think? Gary Anderson stepped down on Monday, a move that I know I didn't see coming, Beaver Nation didn't see coming. How much of a shock was it to you?
Total shock. I talked to Gary quite a bit. This is something that doesn't seem like Gary. You know, he's always last one out of the boat, and I did not expect this at all. It is something that he's put a lot of pressure on himself by moving himself out of this, and he put tremendous pressure on these kids and this team. And Gary cares more about the kids than anything, and I think that was a big part of his decision. We'll find out hopefully more about that from Scott a little later. But a tough time right now at Oregon State.
Yeah, it definitely is. And without further ado, let's bring in the athletics director at Oregon State University, Scott Barnes, joining us. Thank you very much for the time this evening. And you know, I guess where we start on our end, these conversations obviously happening with you and Gary for quite some time. And when did you know that this was a point where Gary was going to step away from the program, and it was something that couldn't be held or helped or salvaged at Oregon State?
Well, Dusty and Steve, thanks for having me on. Yes, you know, I've used the term, the conversation evolved. Ultimately, the decision was made Sunday, and we made that announcement Monday.
Okay.
Scott, what message do you have for Beaver Nation in this situation? It's difficult. There's so much rumor going around Portland. What can you tell your Beaver Nation?
Well, the bottom line here is we have an incredible opportunity ahead of us and a clear path forward. And so when we think about Oregon State and the job that we have available, I hope folks are excited because we have a chance to take another step in this program. Gary left it better than it was. Our talent level is better. We have a new $50 million football facility. We've got more resources to move this program forward. And so, you know, Gary and I were very close, and that was tough, and it is tough. Gary's at peace. He's in a good spot. I know that Corey will do an excellent job in finishing this out, and we will work hard as of yesterday to start the process to find the new leader, and that is an opportunity to take this football program to the next level. You know,
and you mentioned that it's a great message to send to the fans, but you also have to send that message to 100 college athletes, and they've had a lot of turnover in their times. Some of the seniors have gone through 3 athletic directors, 3 head coaches, 3 offensive coordinators. What was your message as you're rallying these guys when you addressed the Oregon State football locker room that their coach was leaving?
Look, the decision was made. Gary was adamant about it. We worked on it together. Now we move forward. We have a game against Colorado on Saturday. It's time to step up. We've got a great leader, a mentor, and a guy that is very connected to these student athletes in Corey Hall. And we can sit around and you know, feel sorry for ourselves, or we can step up and get ready for the challenge. And we'll keep our arms around those student athletes. That is first and foremost a priority for us, and getting their minds right and set for the next step here. And over time, as healing continues, and it's got to move quickly, and they know that. They've had some great practices and some high energy, and they've really responded very, very well. So very proud of them. This isn't about having a pity party. It's about stepping up, moving forward, and these are tough young men who understand it. And at the end of the day, Gary did not want to continue. We have new leadership in Corey Hall and a great opportunity forward. And so 6 games left. I know they're chomping the bit to get back out on the field and prove that they are better than what they've played here recently.
Scott, a little bit about the process when this does actually start to look for a coach. You start with the search firms right now, and when does that actually start? Obviously, I'm presuming not much happens publicly until the season's over.
Well, no, you can get it. There's an opportunity to get a head start and put our plan in motion. We are very close to securing a search firm. We'll get a lay of the land and look at the options that are out there potentially, and really move the ball downfield so that when the season is over, we can formally move very quickly in understanding who's available, who we're interested in, and who's interested in us, and getting that to consummate as quickly as possible. There's a wrinkle in this year, guys, with the new early signing, December 20th. So we'll be mindful of that. Obviously, depending on the candidates that we move forward with, depending on bowl games and availability, that'll drive a lot of this. But we'll be mindful of the recruiting process. We'll be mindful of and respectful of the programs that coaches are currently coaching in. And yet we will be able to get some things done in the meantime, and it is to our advantage that we know now.
What does Scott Barnes' next choice as a football coach look like? What are your criteria?
Well, let's start with the fundamentals, Steve. The integrity, passion, intelligence around putting a plan together for Oregon State. We aren't going to cookie cutter this. It's the individual has to know our needs and have a plan for that. We need a high energy individual that can take a program that is not at the bottom of a rebuild. It's in the process of a rebuild. There's talent here. There's a really solid recruiting class to work with. Two or three more needed, obviously, to put us where we want exactly. But I'm not going to put a parameter around or limitations around any specifics, whether that's a head coach or a sitting head coach or a coordinator or region or geography. We'll keep that wide open, but certainly those leadership capabilities are really important to us. And somebody that's familiar with the Pac-12 is certainly would be a great criteria. Somebody with ties to the area, to the university. Those are all things that we'll look at, but we're certainly not going to put ourselves in a box, because at the end of the day, we want to find the perfect fit for this program at this point in time.
The man that's in charge right now, you've mentioned his name a couple times, and Corey Hall is a budding star in the coaching world. He's only been a full-time assistant for 3 years. What has impressed you, though, about Corey Hall, and how is the decision made to promote him up to the interim head coach tag?
So, Dusty, what it's all about right now, again, we keep circling back to the notion that our student athletes are very important, and our ability to put them in the right spots. Corey has that leadership capacity, has that connection. He's built the respect and trust with those folks. He's a high energy guy. And so elevating him to that position we felt was the right opportunity. Certainly that decision at the end of the day was made by me, but not without counsel from Gary specifically in terms of who might have the attention of those student athletes at this point. And I'm happy to say it's going very, very well right now.
Scott Barnes is the athletic director down at Oregon State. We really appreciate you taking a few minutes out of your day to join us this evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
Happy to do it, gentlemen. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
There he is, Scott Barnes. All right, we still need to take a look back at the trip down to the Coliseum. Some bright spots in a big loss. Beavers inside the huddle rolls on.
There is that rollout punt. And not taking a fair catch. It's bobbled and dropped. Oregon State says they have it. Malapei goes in motion as Darnold has the ball slipped out of his hands. And it's picked up by Oregon State. On second down, Darnold. And it's intercepted. Manasseh Hualu stepped in front and picked it off for the Beavers.
And welcome back into Beavers Inside the Huddle as we take a look back at the week that was as the Beavs head down to USC. They come back with the loss, but Steve, as we take a look at that defense that has been steadily improving, continued that improvement even in that loss down at USC. We saw the turnovers that were forced right there. The defense handling the potential #1 overall pick in the NFL draft fairly well.
Very well. And the pressure up front has been the key. This Oregon State team has gotten better and better on the defensive line, on the defensive front. They have continued to put pressure. 3 sacks against Washington, 3 against Washington State. Pressured Darnold very much and put him in situations where he throws an interception, he fumbles the football. Many things good happening on defense. Between defense and special teams, they give the Beavers 3 turnovers, 2 of them inside the 30, and unfortunately the Beavers get 0 points.
And that is kind of where things unraveled. As much as you would like to get those points out of turnovers, I think they only got 3 points out of the 3 turnovers that were forced by that defense. The inability to capitalize on those kind of was the back-breaking point of that game, especially in this first quarter here. You're down 2 scores early, but you had opportunities to get points on the board and didn't.
Yeah, easy miss early on. Look at this one. A good move by Daryl Garrettson, their quarterback, and he just misses the tight end. And that's, 7 points. And the Beavers had an excellent opportunity to score 14 points, score 17 points in there, and it could have been very easily a 21-17 or an even less game at the half.
Now, one of the things that kind of is that reoccurring theme as we're going through the weeks is, what is the Oregon State identity? We thought we knew heading in offensively that it was going to be the Ryan Nall show, Art Pierce, Tavoris Johnson, Thomas Tyner showcasing the stable of backs, but the run game hasn't been able to get established, and then the passing game has been topsy-turvy at times. What is this identity offensively for Beavs?
Well, they right now, as you say, they haven't got an identity. I got to commend the offensive staff, because this week they had different formations. They formationed this team to death. They used motion. They used the fly sweep. Seth Collins, Thomas Tyner on the fly sweep were great. You see the playmakers there. Art Pierce gets 60 yards in Ryan Nall's absence. Seth Collins had a great day. And these are the playmakers, the guys you've got to get the ball to. If you get the ball to them, that's how you establish your identity. You know who the players are that you want to have the ball, so you build your offense around them. And that's the way it's got to be, whether it's Daryl Garrettson throwing to him, whether he's handing off to him, but get those guys the ball because you got to score points.
And there was something that we did see. You mentioned it briefly, the shifts, motions, the formation. We even saw an overloaded formation at one point. Is that something that kind of moving forward? We saw it at Colorado State early in that first half. We didn't really see it in the second half. And the shifts in motions at the rate that they were doing against USC is something that we haven't seen. Is that something that you think we'll see more and more of as the season progresses?
We better, and we will. I'm sure of that. It was successful last week. That was a very good defense. The Oregon State has the #2 team opponent schedule in the country, according to the best agencies in the country. Oregon State is picked #2 as having the toughest schedule. And I think when that group says you got to just line up and figure out how to score and what to do.
No doubt about it. From USC, we move on. Corey Hall's first opponent as head coach, that guy, Mike McIntyre, will be standing across the sidelines. It's the Colorado Buffaloes. Taking a look at the Pac-12 South standings. Boy, what has happened to those Colorado Buffaloes? The South Division champions a year ago are currently winless in conference play and sit at the bottom of the South standings as we come back in. Steve, what has happened to the Colorado Buffaloes from 2016 to where we are right now in 2017? Oh, how the mighty have fallen.
Well, the defense was their calling card last year, and they lose almost their entire staff. Jim Levitt's down the road at Oregon, great coaching staff, but they also lost basically their defensive line, basically their defensive secondary.
They lost all 4 of their starters to the NFL draft.
Yes.
All 4 of them drafted.
kind of like Washington. Yeah, that's kind of what happened. They lost offensively. They lose their 4-year starter at quarterback. They just lost a ton of people, and they haven't put those guys back into the right positions yet. They haven't learned and grown, but they will get there. They're a good football team.
Well, they do still have one very special player, and that's their running back, Philip Lindsay. And we got a chance to catch up with linebacker Derek McCartney, and Coach McIntyre at Pac-12 Media Days on how special this running back actually really is.
Phil, one of the biggest things about him, he's just a big-time leader on the team. He cares about everyone on the team. He loves everyone on the team. And on top of that, he's a dang good football player. He's quick, and he'll make you miss, and he's physical. So that's what makes him a good running back. And, you know, guys like him on the team, we need him because not only is he a good player, but he's a leader. He's vocal, and he'll tell you what's what. And that's one of the big things we need on our team, leadership.
He's our Tasmanian devil. He's our heart and soul. He's our fire. He's an excellent player, led the league in touchdowns last year, and all-purpose yards, over 1,700 yards, and he's going to be the leading all-purpose player in the history of Colorado football. So it's amazing what he's done for us, not only as a player, but as a leader, too.
You have to earn nicknames, and it was through camp, and it's just about my motor. It's just about me. And, I like to talk. I talk a lot. I can get under people's skin, but it's about the motor, and it's about showing it on the field. And every game, I'm going to give you everything I got. Like I said, I'm 5'8", 193 pounds, and that's what you're going to get. You're going to get all 193 pounds of me and all 5'8" of them. In the afro, too.
Philip Lindsay, now the Colorado Buffaloes' all-time all-purpose yards leader. 320 yards last week against Arizona.
281 on the rush alone. That's pretty frightening. And he does so many things. This is really going to be a test for this Beaver defense to stay in their positions, to stay true to their assignments, to fill the gaps they're supposed to take, and tackle. This guy is tough to bring down. He's hurt the Bees before. You see in this film how astonishing he beat up on Arizona. The only problem was Arizona's quarterback gained about double that.
300 yards on the ground as well. All right, Steve, let's get to it. Your Carrier Expert Pick brought to you by your local Carrier Heating and Air Conditioning dealers. Carrier, turn to the experts.
Bright Uego. He's number 5 on tackles for the Beavs, but this is an upperclassman, a junior. Last year, Bright led the team in tackles for loss, in sacks, in forced fumbles, all kinds of different things before he got hurt near the end. But he's a real motor player. He's a motor player. He's a smart player. He's a leader. And I think right now, Bright's leadership is probably the most important thing as you look at him pick off that Sam Darnold fumble last week. Big pickoff last year. He can do it all. He's got great speed. The Beavs, Kevin Clune likes to blitz Bright, and he's a guy who can make tackles all over the field. So he's going to be supremely important this week against that young Mr. Lindsay.
Like a diesel engine, he's just been revving up all season long. He's playing at a really high level right now. All right, it's time to get to our picks for this week and our keys to the week as the Beavs under Corey Hall host the Colorado Buffaloes. It's homecoming this weekend down in Corvallis, and Steve's 1967 Giant Killers are going to be honored at halftime, the 50th anniversary of some of the best football ever to be played in Corvallis. We got you covered here on NBC Sports Northwest. 3 shows all about the Beavs. Go Beavs every Friday at 9, Talking Beavs Tuesdays, and then us right here Thursdays at 9 o'clock inside the Huddle. All right, let's get to our moving forward. What do you think, Corey Hall, Week 1, Game 1? What do you expect from the Oregon State Beavers?
Well, there will be spirited and enthusiasm played. Corey Hall he's a guy who's got fire coming out of his hair. He is a tough cookie. He will demand that of his players. In one day of watching practice, that's what it looks like. And I think that's one of the reasons he was hired. I also believe that these kids loved Coach A. And I expect this game that there will be a lot of kids out there playing for Coach A.
And all season long, according to a lot of those players as well. All right, time for our keys to the game, brought to you by your Northwest Honda dealers. Stop by your local Northwest Honda dealer. Visit them online today at northwesthondadealers.com. What do you got for us?
Oh, defense stopped the run. Lindsey, we talked about the yards he's got, but we haven't mentioned Steven Montez. He's a quarterback, not having a great year, but he hurt the Beavs last year, 17 for 29. He runs and throws. Offensively, get the ball to playmakers. We talk about it every week. We talk about it every time we talk offense. But we got some playmakers on this Beaver team. Get them the ball. Last but not least, play 60 minutes for Coach A.
There you go. All right. Those are some solid keys. Where I'm going on this, great minds think alike here, because my number one, defense on the line of scrimmage. We've been talking about Bright Uwebu and how this defensive line has improved. Got to own the line of scrimmage. Soften the defense with the vertical passing game. Kind of like getting the the ball in playmakers' hands. We've seen a lot of screens, seen a lot of underneath stuff. Soften them up vertically and get them out of the box. And then number three, play inspired. Coach Anderson is gone. You've got a new head coach in. It's homecoming. You've got the Giant Killer's going to be there. There's no better reason to get inspired and play inspired than this week against Colorado.
Well, I'm just concerned because I have some ex-teammates, still teammates, that are likely to take it upon themselves to do something crazy if the Beavers are needing inspiration.
Stay tuned next Thursday to see which teammate it is that runs out onto the field. I think it might be you.